as you are able for our processional. As we prepare for this graduation ceremony, for your safety and comfort, please be aware of the nearest exit. If you need assistance at any time, please alert the nearest usher. If you would, at this time, also ensure that your cellular phones are silenced. In order to maintain the dignity of this ceremony and to ensure each family has the ability to celebrate this special occasion with their graduate, please refrain from using air horns or other noise-making devices when we call your graduate's name today. Thank you in advance for abiding by this request. Please remain standing as you are able for the national anthem performed by the ASU-Beebe singers under the direction of Mrs. Mary Jo Parker. Please be seated.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the faculty, staff, administration, Board of Visitors, Board of Trustees, and most importantly, on behalf of our student body, let me welcome each of you to the Spring 2026 Arkansas State University Beebe Commencement Exercises. I'm Jennifer Methvin, and it's my honor to serve as the Chancellor of the campuses of ASU-Beebe, and I'm honored to share this day with faculty, staff, and graduates from across our campuses in Beebe, Heber Springs, Searcy, and the Little Rock Air Force Base. Today's commencement exercises truly highlight how special our student body is, because as you will see, we are privileged to serve area students with a number of educational pathways. This morning at our 10 o'clock ceremony, in addition to ASU-Beebe graduates in multiple programs from multiple campuses, we also celebrated our students who have earned their Arkansas High School diploma from our ASU-Beebe Adult Education program this year. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, students who have completed Arkansas State University bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees through our University Center will celebrate their commencement. We consider all these students to be important members of the Vanguard community, and as I said, we're thrilled and honored to be gathered today to share this special occasion with you all. As we begin the ceremony, I am honored to introduce our platform party, which includes administrative personnel who provide leadership at our institution, and some very special board members who support and inspire us to greater success. As I introduce our dignitaries, please hold your applause until all have been introduced. From our Arkansas State University System Board of Trustees, Trustee Price Gardner and Trustee Carol Farmer. We are also joined by ASU-Beebe Board of Visitors members and alum, Miss Debbie Elgin. From our faculty and staff this afternoon, we are missing our Vice Chancellor for Academics, Dr. Blake Perkins, but he is away enjoying a regional baseball tournament with his high school senior, and this evening they will be enjoying his commencement. So they are doing what we are doing, cherishing family moments today. We have our Vice Chancellor for Student Services, Dr. Amber Black, Assistant Professor of Communication and Theater and Coordinator of Visual and Performing Arts, Ryan Gibbons, our Faculty Senate President, Dr. Kayla Sapkota, our Staff Senate President, Robin Johnson, our Registrar, Tanya Tucker, and our student speaker for this afternoon, Michaela Crabb. Help me thank these folks for joining us. Of course, each person here is an honored and special guest, and I thank you for being with us for this celebration. I am pleased to invite to the podium Trustee Price Gardner, who will share greetings on behalf of our Board of Trustees. Mr. Gardner will be followed by Ms. Debbie Elgin, who will bring greetings on behalf of our Board of Visitors.
Thank you, Dr. Methvin, and good afternoon to everybody. It is a distinct honor and privilege to stand before you today on behalf of the Arkansas State University System staff and also the Arkansas State University System Board of Trustees. This is truly the highlight of one of our academic years, and we're grateful to be here to celebrate with you. I'd like to thank you all for choosing ASU-Beebe for your educational endeavors and trust that you had a very positive experience here. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our faculty and staff for the time and effort that you've invested in these students to bring them to these milestones. Additionally, to your family and friends, thank you for the support that you've given to these students and helping them achieve their dreams and progressing to their next steps. Again, congratulations. Whatever is next for you, whether it's additional education or joining the workforce, we wish you well in your endeavors. Thank you.
The Board of Visitors provides advice, counsel, and support to the administration of ASU-Beebe in all its locations. At ASU-Beebe, our mission is to transform lives through quality learning experiences. Today, we see that mission reflected in each of you. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we are honored to celebrate this remarkable milestone with you. Congratulations, class of 2026. We are proud of your achievements and excited to see the impact you will make in the world.
Thank you, Trustee Gardner and Ms. Elgin. Graduates, I stand here this afternoon extremely proud of your accomplishments. You're now a college graduate, and you're about to become an ASU-Beebe alum. As Chancellor of ASU-Beebe, it is my privilege to observe you and our faculty and staff as they work with you to guide you through your educational experience. What I see each day makes me so proud of the kind of education a student receives on the campuses of ASU-Beebe. You see, the ASU-Beebe experience doesn't just prepare you to make a better living. The Vanguard experience also prepares you to have and to live a better life. Our faculty and staff work with you both inside and outside of the classroom, and they model a life of service and dedication to others. They create and nurture quality learning experiences designed specifically for you. They also model civic involvement, respect, service, teamwork, lifelong learning, continuous improvement, tolerance, and civility. ASU-Beebe is devoted to your growth and development as a whole person, not just within your area of study. Students, I think you've been pretty lucky to have these faculty and staff members in your lives. And if you agree, graduates, I hope you'll join me now in thanking these dedicated professionals for their work with and for you. As you exit our doors to take your next steps, I challenge you to continue to be Vanguard. Dare to be a leader, dare to help others. Keep yourselves and others moving forward. Transform the lives of others through your profession and through your life. Graduates, on behalf of everyone in this room, I thank you for inviting us into your lives and allowing us to share a portion of your educational journey. We're so very proud of you, and we know that you will accomplish much. At this time, I am honored to introduce the ASU-Beebe singers under the direction of Assistant Professor of Music, Mrs. Mary Jo Parker. Ms. Parker is retiring this semester. For the last 16 years, she's been a valued member of our faculty and has served as the pianist for this ceremony and for countless concerts and events. For the last 2 years, with the exceptional assistance of her husband, Dr. Jeff Parker, she has also directed our choir. There is no way to quantify Ms. Parker's immense talents. By sharing those talents and her passion for music, she has transformed the lives of countless students. Mrs. Parker, Dr. Parker, and the ASU-Beebe singers will now perform Flight Song, and while they do so in honor of our graduates, I know this choir is also performing to honor Ms. Parker.
Thank you to our ASU-Beebe singers. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Amber Black. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Student Services. On behalf of the faculty and staff of ASU-Beebe, it is my honor to introduce our student speaker for this afternoon. Michaelin Crabb of Redfield is graduating with an Associate of Science in Agriculture and plans to transfer to the University of Arkansas to pursue a degree in poultry science. During her time here at ASU-Beebe, she has served in several leadership roles, including resident assistant, president of the Residence Hall Association, and a leader within the Agriculture Club. Known for her enthusiasm for animal science and her dedication to both service and academics, Michaelin has made a lasting impact on our campus. It is no wonder that she recently received the ASU-Beebe Citizenship Award, which is the highest honor award to a student here at our university. She represents the very best of ASU-Beebe as a committed student, leader, and ambassador. Please help me welcome Michaelin Crabb.
Chancellor Meffin, members of the Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, members of the Vanguard community, my friends, my family, and most importantly, my fellow students. It is my great honor to be able to speak to all of you today. When I was asked to speak at graduation, I struggled with what I could possibly say that would motivate my peers. After talking to quite a few people, I decided the best thing I could do was just share my story. And let's just say, if you knew my story, you'd have a good story to tell. When that happened, skipped a part. Growing up, my life was pretty normal. I went to school, played in the dirt, and like a lot of kids, wished my life away. But in November 2023, the year I was supposed to graduate, my life changed forever. My mom passed away after a long, hard battle with cancer. When that happened, I truly believed I would never go anywhere or do anything. I didn't think I could move forward without my biggest cheerleader. It took me a long time to even consider that college might be an option. I worried about money, about leaving my family, about facing moments like this one without my mom there to see it. Then one day, my best friend, Lee Ellison Phelps, which most of y'all know as Lulu, asked me if I had ever thought about going to college at ASU-Beebe. Like most people at Sheridan High School, my first question was, where's Beebe? But I told her I'd go with her for a tour while she made her schedule, not really planning to make any decisions myself. We drove an hour and a half to what I now call Beebe America, and ended up in Mr. Chuck Wisdom's office. My first impression, well, let's just say was memorable. There were boxes and papers everywhere, and I honestly wondered how he found anything in there. Lulu started talking about her plans, and I just sat there looking around. Then he looked at me and asked what I was going to do. Instead of giving him an honest answer that I had no idea, I just kind of froze. So he asked me about my interests. I told him I was an FFA and I liked animals. And then he said, yeah, you're going to come to ASU-Beebe and you will be an animal science major. The look I probably gave him belonged in a movie. But the truth was, I didn't have a better plan. So I told him I'd think about it, and he followed that up with, I'll see you in the fall. The next thing I knew, we were in his truck headed to the school farm. Lulu and I were texting in the car, not entirely sure if we'd survive the drive. But when I saw what the program had to offer, I started thinking, maybe this wasn't such a bad idea. At new student orientation, he talked on and on about how important connections were. And I'll be honest, I brushed it off. I didn't think much about it at the time. Okay, now if you know me, right, you know I talk a lot, and I can be a little stubborn. And if you knew him, you know that talkative and stubborn didn't exactly mix. We argued a lot, and I'm pretty sure he let me win most of the arguments just so I'd stop talking. I'll never forget one day when he had to stop class and tell me to write down my questions because I had already asked about 10 in the first 20 minutes. But no matter how many questions I had, he always took the time to sit down and explain every single one of them. Somewhere along the way during lab, while we were working cows, I realized something had changed. I started to feel happy again. Not that I wasn't sad or that I had replaced my mom, but I was finding my way back to myself. On Ag Day, I told him I just wanted to follow him around and learn everything I could. And that's exactly what I did. I probably asked 100 questions that day, and I got 100 answers. For the first time in a long time, I felt motivated again. Then on March 10th, 2025, everything changed. It started as a normal day, classes, lunch, a nap. Then I got a call from my friend, Danny. I'll never forget that conversation. She asked me if I had talked to Chuck that day, and I told her I talked to him the day before. And then her mom told me that he had passed away from a heart attack. Losing your mom is something I wouldn't wish on anybody, but losing the person who helped you start to put yourself back together, that's a different kind of pain. Soon after, my hall manager, Madison Haynes, called me. I tried to hold it together, but the second I realized she knew, I lost it. That night, Dr. Meffin came to talk to us, and I couldn't tell you a single word she said. All I could think was, I'm done. I can't keep going. I quit. Somehow I didn't quit. I stand here today because I didn't quit. I'm not sharing this today to make today about me or to make anyone sad. I'm sharing this because I want you to know this. No matter what happens in your life, if you want something badly enough and you're willing to fight for it, you can make it through. One of the things he told me was, you're so smart, you just have to stop doubting yourself. And I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with. We get stuck in our own heads. We convince ourselves that we're not good enough or we're not ready or not capable. But if we could get out of our own way, we might just surprise ourselves. For me, one of the biggest lessons has been learning to lean on people. My dad and my best friend, Riley, have always been there for me, even when it was hard to explain what I was going through. I knew I wasn't alone, and here at ASU-Beebe, I found another kind of family. People always say this place feels like home, and they're not lying. I've made friendships here I would never expect. One of my closest friends, who was a theater major, right? Quinn Darnold, who would have ever thought an ag major and a theater major would end up being good friends, right? And then there's Emma Joplin. I truly don't know how I would have made it through these past 2 years without her. Bailey Crane. I'm going to start crying again. Who stepped up to Chuck's job when he passed. And although we didn't start off on a good foot, or even a foot at all, we could not have chosen a better person to step up when we needed her. Brian Gibbons, who was never afraid to speak his mind and tell you when you're in the wrong. Jennifer George, who always has her office door open and her ears open for anyone about anything. Shane Murphy and Frank N. Taylor II, who were the best bosses anyone could ask for, even if Frank refused to let me believe he was my boss. And Zachary Tucker, who would never let me stop believing in myself no matter what. He showed me the good and made sure I knew that he was proud of me. You've all made a difference in my life. And remember when I said I ignored Chuck's advice about making connections? Yeah, I was wrong about doing that. Some of the people I've met here, faculty and staff, have changed my life in ways I fully can't explain. They stepped in when I needed guidance, support, and sometimes a reality check. They listened, they pushed, they believed in us, even when we didn't believe in ourselves. Because of them and because of the people sitting around us today, we made it. I know we're all ready to get this show on the road, but I want to leave you with this. You might go through the hardest thing you've ever faced. You might feel like you can't take another step forward, but if you keep going, if you hold on, lean on others, and keep fighting for what you want, you will make it. There's a saying I like to hold on to. The sun is gonna shine again. No matter how dark life gets, I can personally attest that the sun will in fact always rise the next morning. Thank you all for listening to my story.
Thank you so much, Michaela, for sharing your story with us. I want to take some time to share with you about our awards on today. This semester, ASU-Beebe is conferring 1,013 awards across all campuses, including 132 Associate of Applied Science degrees, 3 Associate of Arts degrees, 11 Associate of Fine Arts degrees, 28 Associate of General Studies degrees, 285 Associate of Science degrees, 213 technical certificates, 44 certificates of general studies, 261 certificates of proficiency, and 36 Arkansas high school diplomas. Candidates are listed in the program in alphabetical order under the award categories. Every candidate has worked hard to earn the awards they will receive, and we would like to recognize those who have earned awards of distinction during their time here at ASU-Beebe. Students who have earned a grade point average of a 3.75 or higher are indicated in the program with an asterisk. You will notice many candidates are wearing one or more cords, sashes, or medals of distinction. Please see your program for a listing of what these represent. And now, the moment we have all been waiting for. At last, we have come here. Will the 2026 graduating class please rise? Chancellor Methvin, the faculty are in the process of recording grades and carefully examining the accomplishments of the spring 2026 graduating class. At this time, it appears the final auditing of the academic records will confirm that each eligible member of the class has completed the requirements and met the standards of the Arkansas Department of Higher Education and the Arkansas State University System Board of Trustees. Therefore, it is with great pride that the faculty presents them to you and unanimously recommends that the appropriate certificates and degrees be conferred.
Thank you, Dr. Black. By the authority vested in me by the Arkansas Department of Higher Education and the Arkansas State University Board of Trustees, and pending review of final records, it is my honor to confer upon each of you the Associate of Applied Science, Associate of Arts, Associate of Fine Arts, Associate of General Studies, Associate of Science, Technical Certificate, Certificate of General Studies, and Certificate of Proficiency as pertains to each, with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereunto. Congratulations, graduates. I cannot wait to greet you.
Graduates, we would ask the first row of students to remain standing and follow the directions of the ushers. The rows behind them may now be seated as we now begin the awarding of degrees and certificates. Receiving an Associate of Science in Agriculture and an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Michaelin Deanne Crabb. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Agriculture Equipment Technology, Joseph Glover. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Agriculture Equipment Technology, Aidan Pratt. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Automotive Technology, an Associate of Applied Science in General Technology, and a Technical Certificate in Automotive Technology, Jacob Carter. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Automotive Technology, Eros Joshua Castro. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Business Technology, a Technical Certificate in Health Information Technology, and a Certificate of Proficiency in Health Information Technology, Samantha Kitchen. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Business Technology, an Associate of Applied Science in General Technology, an Associate of General Studies, a Technical Certificate in Health Information Technology, and a Certificate of General Studies, Kyla Wallace. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Business Technology, a Technical Certificate in Health Information Technology, and a Certificate of Proficiency in Health Information Technology, Sydney Linville. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Business Technology, Riley Noel Myers. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Computer-Aided Drafting and Design, Matthew Dennis Cantone. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Computer Systems and Networking Technology, a Technical Certificate in Computer Systems and Networking Technology, and a Certificate of Proficiency in Computer Fundamentals, Cody Lynn Campbell. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Computer Systems and Networking Technology, Tristan Kemp. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Computer Systems and Networking Technology and a Technical Certificate in Computer Systems and Networking Technology, Ethan M. Rowe. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Computer Systems and Networking Technology and a Technical Certificate in Computer Systems and Networking Technology, J. Hunter Scoggin. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Computerized Machining Technology, an Associate of Applied Science in General Technology, and a Technical Certificate in Computerized Machining Technology, Jeremiah Donnell. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Computerized Machining Technology, a Technical Certificate in Computerized Machining Technology, and a Certificate of Proficiency in Computerized Machining Technology, Enrique Hernandez. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Computerized Machining Technology, a Technical Certificate in Computerized Machining Technology, and a Certificate of Proficiency in Computerized Machining Technology, Joshua C. Jones. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Computerized Machining Technology, an Associate of Applied Science in General Technology, a Technical Certificate in Computerized Machining Technology, a Technical Certificate in Industrial Technology, a Certificate of Proficiency in Computerized Machining Technology, and a Certificate of Proficiency in Industrial Technology, Connor D. Yancey. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in General Technology, Stephen G. Hawk. Receiving an Associate of Science in Computer Information Systems, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Certificate of General Studies, Phoenix Turpin. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in General Technology and a Technical Certificate in Diesel Technology, Ryan Woodall. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Medical Laboratory Technology, an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, Trinity Bowles. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Medical Laboratory Technology, Brooklyn L. Clark. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Medical Laboratory Technology, Selena Bell Rose Culver. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Medical Laboratory Technician, Shakina DeBose. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Medical Laboratory Technology, Sanaya Grubbs. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Medical Laboratory Technology, Jordan Hadley. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Medical Laboratory Technology, Claire Manuel. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Medical Laboratory Technology, Candace Marie Whitaker. Receiving Associate of Applied Science in Pharmacy Technician Science, a Technical Certificate in Pharmacy Technician Science, and a Certificate of Proficiency as a Pharmacy Technician, Michaela Ann Michelle Black. Receiving an Associate of Fine Arts in Theater, Quinn Darnold. Receiving an Associate of Fine Arts in Theater, Jake Johnson. Receiving an Associate of Fine Arts in Theater, Josiah Lillard. Receiving an Associate of Science in Agriculture, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Agriculture, Hayden Elizabeth Parker. Receiving an Associate of Science in Agriculture, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Agriculture, Ian Adam Nathaniel Price. Receiving an Associate of Science in Agriculture, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Agriculture, Timber Wolf. Receiving an Associate of Science in Business, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Certificate of General Studies, Brooklyn Davis. Receiving an Associate of Science in Business, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Certificate of General Studies, Brianna Holt. Receiving an Associate of Science in Business, as well as an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Shelley Elaine Smith. Receiving an Associate of Science in Business, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, an Associate of General Studies, and a Certificate of General Studies, James Gerard Troy. Receiving an Associate of Science in Computer Information Systems, Aaron Abraham Guadamus. Receiving an Associate of Science in Computer Information Systems and an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Joshua Owen Williams. Receiving an Associate of Science in Criminal Justice, a Technical Certificate in Criminal Investigation Science, a technical certificate in law enforcement, a technical certificate in wildlife enforcement, a certificate of proficiency in criminal investigation science, a certificate of proficiency in law enforcement, and a certificate of proficiency in wildlife enforcement, Olivia Carter. Receiving an Associate of Science in Criminal Justice, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a technical certificate in criminal investigation science, a technical certificate in law enforcement, a technical certificate in wildlife enforcement, a certificate of proficiency in criminal investigation science, a certificate of proficiency in law enforcement, and a certificate of proficiency in wildlife enforcement, Zoe Renee English. Receiving an Associate of Science in Criminal Justice, Alexandria Sullivan. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a technical certificate in teaching, and a certificate of proficiency in teaching, Faith Bettis. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, Cameron Grace Boyd. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, Tiffany Campbell. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, a technical certificate in teaching, and a certificate of proficiency in teaching, Anna Lauren Dobbs. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a technical certificate in teaching, and a certificate of proficiency in teaching, Shelby Dawn English. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a certificate of proficiency in teaching, Abigail Faye Geheb. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a certificate of proficiency in teaching, and a certificate of general studies, Haley Geheb. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a technical certificate in teaching, and a certificate of proficiency in teaching, Addison Gabriella Denise Gossett. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a technical certificate in teaching, Selena Saray Harry. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a technical certificate in teaching, and a certificate of proficiency in teaching, Kayla Marie Hawks. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a certificate of proficiency in teaching, Sophia Rose Leanne Hill. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education and an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, James Johnson. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a technical certificate in teaching, and a certificate of proficiency in teaching, Mark H. Colbert, Jr. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a certificate of proficiency in teaching, Michaela Joe McDaniel. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, Associate of Science in Health Sciences, and Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a Technical Certificate in Teaching, and a Certificate of Proficiency in Teaching, Michaela Negron. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a Technical Certificate in Teaching, and a Certificate of Proficiency in Teaching, Ava Loren Perez. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Certificate of Proficiency in Teaching, Emma Grace Thompson. Receiving an Associate of Science in Education, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Teaching, Sarah Thompson. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, an Associate of General Studies, a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, and a Certificate of General Studies, Emma Catherine Burrow. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, an Associate of General Studies, and a Certificate of General Studies, Kaylee Sharamonte. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences and an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Amy Clarissa Quayler. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, and a Certificate of General Studies, Elizabeth Page Davis. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Science, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, Ava Lane Dobbs. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences and an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, as well as a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, Cheney Dorsey. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences and an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, as well as a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies and a Certificate of General Studies, Jamie Gaylor. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, as well as an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Ariel Harriet. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, and a Certificate of General Studies, Jaren Sarzino Jasso. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, and a Certificate of General Studies, Kelly Diane Knight. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, Hayden MacArthur. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, Carly Jean McMullen. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences and a Certificate of Proficiency as a Pharmacy Technician, Taylor Methvin. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, Leslie Joanne Morales Zambrano. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, Lee Powell. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, an Associate of General Studies, and a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, Brandy Shea Robertson. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, Hannah Rye. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Certificate of Proficiency as an Emergency Medical Technician, Bryce Strassner. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, Haley Sullivan. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, as well as an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Chloe Renee Tate. Receiving an Associate of Science in Health Sciences, an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, and a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, as well as a Certificate of General Studies, Jessica Watson. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Nevaeh Lachey Hahn. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Science, Joseph Dalton Valaquette. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, an Associate of Arts in Liberal Arts, an Associate of General Studies, and a Certificate of General Studies, Katina I. Wade. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Chloe Abigail Jones. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences and Certificate of General Studies, Natalie Cortez. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences and a Certificate of General Studies, Shanisha Boucher Willis. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, an Associate of General Studies, and a Certificate of General Studies, Tiffany L. Cooper. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences and a Certificate of General Studies, Nina M. Dempsey. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Michaela Danielle Colvin. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences and an Associate of Arts in Liberal Arts, Reagan Kate Matos. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Adriana Bolio. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Kaylee Emmons. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Ethan Wayne Hall. Good, are you, brother? Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Gage Wells. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Ethan Davenport. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Rin Gale Lappin. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, an Associate of General Studies, a Technical Certificate in Pre-Healthcare Studies, and a Certificate of General Studies, Brittany Jarvonia Smith. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Braylon D. Rainey. Receiving an Associate of Science in Liberal Arts and Sciences, Devin Forrester. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Diesel Technology, Jessie Lynn Dugan. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Diesel Technology, Taylor Evans. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Diesel Technology, Isaiah Dawn Martin. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Diesel Technology, Lucas O'Neill. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Diesel Technology, Lane Rudisill. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Health Information Technology and a Certificate of Proficiency in Health Information Technology, Jessica Brawley. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Health Information Technology and a Certificate of Proficiency in Health Information Technology, Kaylee Cawthorn Lauderdale. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Health Information Technology and a Certificate of Proficiency in Health Information Technology, Gabriela Errata London. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Health Information Technology and a Certificate of Proficiency in Health Information Technology, Tanya Sharp. Receiving a Technical Certificate in HVAC-R Technology and a Certificate of Proficiency in HVAC-R Technology, Tanner Ool. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Power Sports Technology and a Certificate of Proficiency in Power Sports Technology, Paxton Jonas McKinley Bell. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Practical Nursing, Soraya Rice. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Practical Nursing, Antoine Clark II. Receiving a Technical Certificate in Practical Nursing, Tyreek Palmer. Receiving a certificate of proficiency as an advanced emergency medical technician, Callie Blair Neal. Receiving a certificate of proficiency in diesel technology, Tyler Gewitt. Receiving a certificate of proficiency in diesel technology, Peyton Kasirik. Receiving a certificate of proficiency in health information technology, Joshua A. Baker. Receiving a certificate of proficiency in health information technology, Gianna Mariani. Receiving a certificate of proficiency in health information technology, Remedy K. Rogers. Receiving a certificate of proficiency as a patient care technician and a certificate of proficiency in health information technology, Samaria Joy Earl. Receiving a certificate of proficiency as a patient care technician, Layla Nicole Fisher. Receiving a certificate of proficiency as a patient care technician, Tony L. Jenkins. Receiving a certificate of proficiency as a patient care technician, London Grace Smith. Receiving a certificate of proficiency as a patient care technician, Lakin Mackenzie Vaughn. Receiving a certificate of proficiency in welding technology, Clark Craig. Receiving a certificate of proficiency in welding technology, Dixie Sandra Lee Holloway. Receiving a certificate of proficiency in welding technology, Valerie Cheyenne Peppers. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would like to honor the memory and achievements of a student whose life was recently cut short. His name was Clayton Davis. Clayton was enrolled in the pharmacy technology program, where he demonstrated dedication, perseverance, and commitment to his education and future profession. Clayton had started his career by becoming employed at Baptist Health in North Little Rock. Though his life was tragically and unexpectedly ended in a recent car accident, his hard work and accomplishments will not be forgotten. Today, we posthumously award Clayton the degree and credentials that he earned before his passing. Accepting these honors today on Clayton's behalf is his mother, Mandy York. Receiving an Associate of Applied Science in Pharmacy Technology, the Technical Certificate in Pharmacy Technology, as well as the Certificate of Proficiency in Pharmacy Technology, Clayton Davis. Graduates, if you'll remain standing.
Graduates, when you processed in this afternoon, you wore your tassel on the right, signifying your candidacy for graduation. Now, in keeping with the time-honored tradition of the Academy and the symbolic gesture of crossing your hearts, you may move your tassel from the right to the left. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Spring 2026 graduating class of Arkansas State University, Beebe. I shared this morning, this has been one special class of graduates this year. Will everyone please rise as you are able for the ASU-Beebe alma mater, performed by the ASU-Beebe singers under the direction of Miss Mary Jo Parker one more time. Lyrics are included in the back of your program. Faculty, and staff, you are dismissed to prepare to meet your graduates. I ask everyone else to please be seated for one more special moment. Graduates of the class of Spring 2026, it is my privilege and responsibility to induct you as a new graduate into the Alumni Association of Arkansas State University, Beebe. ASU-Beebe is the oldest community college in our state. And as the Alumni Association continues to grow, each graduating class joins our ranks. The success you will share will continue to make a difference in our communities, in Arkansas, and throughout the nation. We hope you'll always take great pride in your alma mater and that you will always be ready to give Arkansas State University Beebe your active support. Now, would all of the graduates please stand? By the authority vested in me by the Arkansas State University System Board of Trustees, I am pleased to welcome you into membership in the Arkansas State University Beebe Alumni Association. Congratulations. At this time, the ushers will lead our graduates in our recessional and in our great tradition of the ASU-Beebe faculty and staff celebration tunnel. Family and friends, please stand for our recessional and remain where you are until all graduates have exited the gym. We encourage you to join our graduates and faculty outside to enjoy our beautiful campus and celebrate as long as you like. There are a number of great places to take photos. Thank you for sharing this wonderful day with us. Graduates, congratulations.